And I asked him, and yes, he does go golfing every December 7th. And this is Ali Sal, a resort where Peter celebrated his 70th birthday by inviting all his family to a resort. And then what was very sad was that Peter's wife, Charlotte, got pancreatic cancer. And they became very active in the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. And Charlotte was honored as the Survivor of the Year at their awards dinner. And here she is receiving her award. And then Charlotte died. And she's buried in the Home of Peace in East LA. And Peter likes to go there and sit by the grave. And here's her grave, how it looks, with flowers there. And after a year or so, Peter began to date Roz. Rosalind is a lady who, she and her husband were friends of Peter and Charlotte. And tragically, she also lost her husband around the time Peter lost his wife. And they've gotten together, and they're a lovely couple. And Peter sold that house and bought a condo on Wilshire in the newest building. It's the Californian. And here we see the Californian towering above Wilshire Boulevard. And Peter's up here on his balcony looking off into the sunset. And the other sections deal with his family in close-up. Here he and Charlotte celebrate their 50th wedding anniversary. And the other vignettes highlight his children, his oldest son Larry, his wife Stephanie, who interestingly enough is teaching here at UCR, my alma mater. And that's why I had a good time drawing it. And their daughter Emily, and this is his daughter Judy, who's an attorney, and her husband Dave, and Emily, their daughter. And this is his daughter Leah, who recently married a man with 7 children. And also she's having her own baby now, so I get to do more paintings later. There's 2 more babies coming to the family since I finished it this month. And so here she is having a Shabbat dinner for her husband. And actually the way I met Peter was, I met him because attending my same synagogue was a lovely young family, the same age as my own children and my own grandchildren, of David and his wife Carrie, and their 3 boys, Danielle, Ilan, and Ben Zion. So they've recently made Aliyah and moved to Israel, and here they are leaving the United States and flying on the LL flight to Israel and landing. And this is just remembering Peter, all the family. He put them together, even people who wasn't exactly there at the time. And he used to make all these sweatshirts that say, "I love family fun." And it winds up with their favorite holiday, Thanksgiving, where the whole Barrett family is gathered together in a happy vignette of enjoying. And here's Peter, a happy man with a turkey and a beautiful family. Now, at this time, not pretending that I'm not on TV, I'm going to remove this stuff and talk about the painting that's behind. We're now in another world with this painting. This painting is called Change Gonna Come. And I do not have permission to use the music, but I would like whoever is watching this show to remember Sam Cooke's incredibly classic song, Change Gonna Come. And if you saw the movie Malcolm X, it was playing during the ballroom scene where Malcolm X is killed. And I heard that, I just fell so in love with that song, and it inspired this painting. And the first words to the song are, "I was born by the river in a little tent." So you see the river going through the painting. And you see, when I lived downtown and I helped create the Dada shows, I would be back and forth outside of my loft in the downtown area. And look at all these homeless who live down there. And these are real people, based on the people living in the shelters, living in cardboard, whatever they can get. This man is so mentally ill. All the mentally ill people were released and they're living on the streets. This is a mission trying to feed them. And there's a backstory of a woman who lost her little boy at the bus station, and he appears throughout the painting in different places. Now, what's the difference between these people are separated by a river of money? Money for the rent, money for a mortgage. Most of the people watching the TV show and here in the studio are somebody who have an apartment or a home that they live in. Why? Because they have the money. And incidentally, this is Voodoo, who was the really funnest guy, homeless guy downtown. I've done a lot of paintings based on him because he had such a positive attitude. He loved life and he loved being outdoors, and he decorated his cart. So we see that these people are separated by a river of money from the more comfortable life that you have, whether you live in an apartment or even you might have lunch at the mall. Simple pleasures. Or you might live in a big home or a big mansion. But I used to be on community organization boards, and we used to talk about these people downtown. this is still going on. And the consensus was they are lazy, they should get a job and get out of here. Now, in the painting, I took the story to the third world. Let's look at the rest of the planet besides America. We have Africa, we have Asia, we have Latin America. And if you think about the places, the continents that I mentioned just now, they're huge. And in these places, there's a lot of poverty in the world. We know that. People are starving over in Africa right now. And in many places, people live in tremendous poverty. And if you see the news in different times all around the globe, in many different areas, people live in the dump. And they live off of the refuse of the dump. And they set up life in the dump. And it happens in many places. And here they are living in the dump, and living in shelters, and living in shacks. And they're all gathered around a food pot to show these are people. They have a society. They're eating together. And the painting is saying that every single one of these people cannot be lazy. I do not know the reason for poverty in the world. I do not know the answer, but I do know there is a problem. And the painting calls attention to the problem. And we also see the rape of the earth. Overlooking the scene that we began with the homeless.